Right, well, I'm not making this up. This is the night before I go to France, and this is my Renault Avantime, and I've got a headlight on because this car's dead. It died. Now this, I'm not making this up. Right, a couple of hours ago I decided to move the Avantime and get it ready for my early departure tomorrow morning to France. And I put the key in it and turned the engine, turned the key, and the lights flashed for a second, and then in the dash, and then went out, and it's dead. There is, in fact, it's so dead that I can't even open the boot because there's a touch button that opens the boot, and the windows don't come down when you open the doors. It's just dead. Right, so what did I do? I can't believe this has happened. I should never have said this car was going well. So what did I do? Okay, I jump started it from the Mercedes, and actually I put the leads on the battery from the Mercedes, got the engine running on the Mercedes, obviously. I connected this up, and I left it for maybe only 3 or 4 minutes, and in 3 or 4 minutes I managed to get the Avantime started. Took the cable leads off, obviously, jump leads off, and the Avantime's running normally. Lights work, everything's working fine. So I let the car run for about 15 minutes, and I had it at one point revving quite, higher than idle. I had my foot on it, keep the revs up, and I let it run for about 15 minutes. Now, because I had no other way of testing anything, so at the end of 15 minutes I figured, well, that would have put enough charge in there, probably, to start it up again. Normally that would happen. So I turned the key off, shut down the engine, car went absolutely dead. Not even enough. So in 15 minutes it didn't even put enough power into the battery to allow me to open the boot. So right, now that tells me one thing, that that the car is charging, because obviously if the battery's flat, which it is, because it's it's dead now. There's nothing here. There's no lights working. Nothing. It's completely dead. So what it's telling me is that the battery's flat, but the car was running. Because if the battery was flat, once I took the jump leads off, the car would have died. So the battery's making a circuit, and the alternator's working. So it's creating, the engine's creating charge from the alternator, and it's running the engine, but the battery's not storing any power whatsoever. So I'm assuming by this that the battery has just died. So what's the plan tomorrow morning? Well, I can't get over this. This is hilarious, to be honest with you. The plan is this. First thing tomorrow morning, we're going to go out and buy a new battery, and we're going to install the new battery, and in theory the car should start. We're then going to drive down to Anglia Vehicle Services and get them to test the old battery that we just have taken out. If they confirm that the battery is dead, then we know that the new battery is fine, everything's great. If by any chance they say there's nothing wrong with the battery, then there's some problem we can't figure out, we will then get the car back home, and we're going to go to France in Tom's van. And the reason for that is because for every car I got, I don't want to go in the Volvo. I'm worried that might break down. I don't want to take my Mercedes, though I could. And I certainly don't want to take 2CV. Anyway, we'll take the van. We'll see. So early tomorrow morning, we'll carry on with this little... I can't believe this has happened. I really can't. So I'm going to turn my head torch off. Right. No lights. Okay, see you in the morning. Right, well, it's the next morning. We're off to France in a few hours, and there's a bit of bad news, really, as far as I'm concerned. My wife went and put something in the car this morning, and she said the internal lights came on. Well, that's bad news, because last night it was completely dead. Now, if it's working or anything, it means that perhaps this is not a battery problem. Let's have a look. Now I can see lights are on, but it's just, I think it's just weak. They're not going out though, are they? No, I think that is just simply, there's a little bit of power in the battery. So what it means is that, yeah, I think we'll carry on with our plan, and that is to have a new battery this morning. Right, we'll see what happens. Hi. So everything's leading towards the battery, because this morning the little lights were just slightly on. But you can't open the boot or anything. But as soon as you put power to it, the car works perfect. So we'll do the plan, yeah?
Yep.
Get this off. Get a battery.
Grab a pair of gloves.
Your tools, I'll get them out here.
I'll grab a pair of gloves.
Right, so the plan is we take this battery off now, we buy another one, we put a new battery on, car should be okay, we drive straight to a garage, get this battery tested. If it's confirmed that the battery's dead, we know exactly that was the problem. If the battery's found to be okay, which I can't see that it is, then we'll solve that. We'll think about that when the time comes. I hate talking, you carry on, I hate talking about these things, but I'm just going to say one thing. If this had happened when we got to the tunnel, and we were in the tunnel, and we arrived in France, and everyone started their motors up, and this car was dead, can you imagine? I you know, I had cold sweats thinking about it. And also, it was also opportunity that I decided to move the car last night,
Yeah.
and get it in a position. I was going to turn it around and get it ready to go.
At least we had options.
Yeah, it gave us time to think about it and work it out. Right. Well, we'll see what happens when you get a new battery. Right, vans everywhere. You got one?
Yep.
Oh, thank God for that. Sorry? Ah, one new battery. Fantastic. You know, I was just talking to Ben. I mean, it's just ridiculous, isn't it? The battery goes, you can't even open the boot on these cars. All these modern cars. Dreadful, really.
Makes sense.
Can you imagine how lucky we were?
It happened now.
Yeah. But like Ben says, it can happen in anything. But what I've got with me now is one of those battery packs, that, the little tiny ones, so that it would be enough to start the car. So what was interesting was that it does run without the battery, you know, once you got it going. So we can jump start it. But it's not going to happen again. Yeah. Huh. I had that problem before. This window stopped working. Lights are on. You have to reset it. Yeah, it's exactly what I had to do before, yeah. No, it don't want to work at the moment. Another lesson that we've learned, or I've learned, is that the power pack, I'm going to keep in the cabin. Right, shall I start it up? Right. Now, that window isn't going up and down now. It's a bloody nuisance. See, it's not. Have to do it manually when we're driving, but. Yeah, I did.
And then hold it down, hold the other down button. About 10 seconds.
Right, well, we finally got the Avantime going, and we've done about 100 miles, and we're coming up to where we turn off to go to the tunnel. So far so good, and though we know it is the battery, I'm sort of guessing really that we're going to be a little bit apprehensive when we turn the engine off, especially in the train, and turn it back on again. But at the moment, I shouldn't say these things really, but everything's working right, Tom, isn't it?
Yeah. Fine,
yeah. At the moment, we're all right. We're also trying to figure out how far we're going to get with fuel, because there is a place in France that we want to fill up, and we're hoping we're going to make to that, because the fuel will be a bit cheaper there in France. Right, so the next stop is the tunnel. Right, well we're on the slip road to the tunnel now, but because of all the messing around with the battery, we've missed the booking that we had, so we're late actually though. So it just depends how quickly they can get us onto a alternative train.
After 400 yards, go straight on.
Oh, okay. I'm mindful of the fact that some people who watch this video are unfamiliar with this tunnel, so I'm going to state some of the obvious things, and that is that this is a train where you get on the train, you don't actually drive through the tunnel. Right, so first of all we come through here and we register the fact that we've our booking and we're here, and they give us a shuttle or a train that we go on. This is where they allocate that. So we put our booking number in to this machine. Sometimes it recognizes you from the license plate number.
So what's the time now? About 10 past?
Yeah, we should be able to go through soon. See what they say.
Pull up in the car park first.
Yeah, you have to go. They make you go to the car park now because they want you to.
You have to come back out the
yeah,
back
because they want you to spend money. So when we do, you'll see it on the board.
Turn straight in here. Look. That's where you used to go, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. We never used to bother, but they won't allow you now.
But you did.
That was a bit much, isn't it? What happens here is that you're forced to drive through the car park of the shop and everything. It's down here.
After 200 yards, turn left, then turn right. Turn left, then
And then
turn
from this car park, you then go to the tunnel,
turn right.
depending on what your train is. So
Stage 1 done.
yeah. Right, so we're now sitting just waiting for a few minutes in the car park at the entrance to the tunnel. So there again, as I say, this is for people who don't know anything about it. We go from here to, we then go through here, we go through passport control in a minute. That means we're effectively we've left the UK and we go through the French customs as well, so we're effectively in France before we go on the train. We then get loaded onto a train. The journey is less than half an hour actually, and when we get to the other side, of course, as we've already been through passport control, we just come off the train and basically just drive straight onto the motorway, and we've just left a motorway, and when we get off the train the other end, we go straight back onto one. So it's all very straightforward, and we are then just outside Calais. So it's very, very good, excellent system. So we'll see. But thank God we sorted the car out, because if the battery had gone flat while we were in the train, it would have been a disaster. Whoops. Come on. Oh no, don't know what they're doing. Everyone's on holiday and they all got their kids because it's half term. So that's one of the reasons it's so busy.
After 200 yards,
oh God.
turn right.
Yeah, well, no, we're going to turn left. Right, we're going back to the UK. So the first thing we have to do now is to go to passport control. Let's see if they'll let us out of the country, and then go to the French one and see if they'll let us in.
Turn right.
So the first ones we go through are the UK passport control. And sometimes they'll pull you over here. A sort of token pull over. They pull over a couple of cars at a time to that place over there, and they do a sort of assessment of you. They test your handlebars, your steering wheel, and a few things for explosives, I suppose, or something. I don't know, drugs. They got some swab they put over it. So, and considering how awful Tom and I look, we'll probably get pulled over. The Cray twins.
Hello.
Hello.
Thank you.
Where are you heading to?
Les Loges Marchis.
Okay.
However you say that.
Right. What are you heading there for?
I've got a house there.
Very nice.
You must have a record, I go there all the time.
Okay. You have got that switched off at the moment, have you?
Sorry? No, you want it off?
Yeah, you can't
Oh,
have
sorry.
camera equipment.
Right, well, that was, so we were told we couldn't film it for security reasons. Anyway, we're through the passport, we got through the French one as well. So we're effectively, legally, we're in France now. Though we're still in the UK, but we're in France.
After 200 yards, bear left.
Oops. There's a lot of work going on here. This is all new because it's probably all security they're beefing up here. And I can understand why they don't like cameras as well. Well, that's new. Give you a little ticket, 10. Right, so she tells us what lane we're in.
After 800 yards,
And I'm going to say it is extremely embarrassing if you stop here, turn your engine off, and then when you try it again, the car's dead. And this could have happened to us. Could have happened to us. Right, so now we wait for instructions. Right, so the left-hand lane here is loading. Well, there's a Volvo. His Volvo's going okay. Right, so it's now our turn.
Stay in lane and then all the lanes disappear.
Yeah. So what we're doing is we're going down into the lower level here where we load onto a train, and then the train will go into the tunnel, under the channel. These trains, there's two types. There's one which is what we're going on, which is a double-decker, and then there are ones where they're single-decker. The single-decker one you have to use if you've got some vehicles which are too high. This car is just low enough to go on the double-decker one. And I think the Volvo is, yes it is because we went on it. But sometimes I think Range Rovers, or Discoveries, they have to go on the one where there's no upper level. Right, so this is the terminal. Obviously there are a lot more trains that go through this. It's 2 tracks, I guess. But there's some trains take lorries. Some take lorries and cars, I think. So the cars are going in here. So when you go in here, you either are directed to go up on the top level or in the bottom level. So we're going on the upper level. So we're on the upper level now. And of course, obviously, when you come out, you obviously go out forward. Right. So we're. Oops. You stalled, didn't you?
Listen carefully to the following safety information. Please ensure that your handbrake is on and that your vehicle is in first gear or park. For your safety and comfort, we recommend that you stay with your vehicle. Do not stand or walk between the vehicles during the crossing. As a safety measure, please open sunroofs or vents and keep your windows open halfway throughout the crossing. We would like to remind you that for safety reasons, flash photography and smoking are strictly forbidden on board, as they interfere with our fire detection systems. If you require any assistance, you can call a crew member using the call points situated on the side panels of the carriage. Safety instructions are also displayed on the side panels. Please read these instructions carefully. In the unlikely event of an emergency, follow the instructions broadcast over the public address system shown on the overhead visual display panels, or given by crew members. Should an incident be detected in your carriage, the following alarm will sound. Followed by an evacuation announcement. On hearing the alarm signal, you should move directly to the next carriage. This is a precautionary measure while the shuttle continues its crossing. Thank you for your attention.
Mesdames et messieurs, votre attention s'il vous plaît. Veuillez être attentifs
Oh,
aux
here we go.
informations suivantes.
The French are at it already.
Veuillez vérifier la bonne immobilisation de votre...
Right, so very quietly we're slipping away now to the entrance to the tunnel. And there's 2 points just that I'd make about this train for people who don't know anything about it. One is the speed that it goes. Actually, when it gets up to speed, I think it's doing about 120 miles an hour. But you would have no idea of that. It's just quiet, and of course you can't see anything. It's dark, and there's very little vibration. You just wouldn't know you were doing that speed. And the other thing is, and it wasn't always the case, but they put Wi-Fi down here, so you or telephone, whatever signal, because you can actually make a phone call at any part of the tunnel. So you're basically underneath the channel, underneath the ground, and your phone works. You can speak to somebody. It's amazing. I think it is absolutely amazing. So here we are, just about ready. Amazing feat of technology, I think, and it was well designed because it works really well. It's very efficient. And I think, relatively speaking, they have a few hiccups here, a few problems. So the question for today is, and I'm serious, this is the question. Anyone can put a comment. If we blasted a hole in the tunnel in the middle, would the channel then flood England? So I want to know the answer to that question. So if the water was coming into the tunnel, would it flood the land? Because you've got all the pressure of the channel above you, so that would be forcing water like down a plug hole into the channel tunnel, which is like a pipe. So it'd be like a waste pipe in your bath. So that's the question: is would the channel then actually then flood the country? Oh. Right, so here we are. The inside of the train. We're the first one in this carriage. Obviously there's a couple of carriages in front of us. So the Renault Avantime will be in its natural place in France in a few minutes. This journey is very quick. It's only, well, it's usually less than 30 minutes. It's just under half an hour normally. Someone's just pointed out that I should take a picture of this. Oh yeah. Ah, right, so that explains it. We've got 2 tunnels and a central tunnel. This car needs a clean. Right, well, we're slowing down, and I think we're just about any minute now we should see daylight. And hopefully we're in France. I mean, you know, knowing the French, the way they feel, one day we find out we'll come out the tunnel and we're in Holland. The French have moved the tunnel. My apologies to any French people that are listening to this. So we're just outside of Calais now. It's all very quick because these gates will open as soon as we stop, and we drive straight off, and a couple of 100 yards and we're onto a motorway.
Not commence until a few minutes after arrival. Remember to take your vehicle out of first gear once the shuttle has stopped, and do not start your engine until unloading begins. Would coach drivers please close sunroofs and vents? Don't forget to put your watches forward 1 hour and to drive on the right after leaving the terminal. We hope you have had a pleasant crossing with Eurotunnel, and we look forward to seeing you again soon.
So that was very quick, and now we're exiting the or departing the train, the shuttle. And this is the point, as I say, where we have a nightmare that if this car had gone dead at this point, I just don't know what happens. Whether they'd have to. Everyone gets around and pushes you out. I guess that's what happens. They must have cars that fail to start. So we're on the upper deck. Now we're going down. The other side, they're coming out from the lower deck. I think that's how they do it. So the lower deck and the upper deck exit at the same time. And what's interesting as well, that this infrastructure here, all the roads and everything, are a mirror of the ones in England. So it's exactly the same. The terminal is exactly the same here in France. So far there's no difference between this and the UK. Except, of course, we've got to be driving on the right-hand side of the road. So those are the barriers that you go through when you come to go back. So we'll be coming back through those when you push all the buttons to get your train. And of course we're not far from the coast here. We're just outside Calais, which is on the coast. And we're now going to head on the motorway, basically drive all the way down the coastline, as it were, to Normandy. We'll be driving just south of the Normandy beaches. And of course all the area that we go through will also be involved, had been involved in two parts of the war. One was the First World War. We're going to go through the Somme. Actually, we're going to stop. The first place we're going to stop actually to get fuel is in the Somme, so that was in the First World War. And then of course you've got the Normandy beaches and all the area around there where there was obviously the fighting after D-Day and the Second World War. So all of the area that we go through now is significant from the two world wars in the 20th century. So we're coming up to the first toll. I've got this little reader thing here, which should open the barrier up for us, and then the tolls are just charged to our account.
We've all got tea.
Oh, they're all got tea, yeah, they're all electronic. So I just hope this... It was stuck to the window of the Volvo, actually. Ah. That ain't working, is it? Well, a little dongle-y thing didn't work, so I got a suspicion that my thought that maybe this should have had a battery in it, or at least this battery's old. I reckon that's what it is. Right, well, we've figured out where the cruise control switch to activate it is to get it working. And we've got it on at the moment, but it's a bit jerky. It seems to be surging. Possibly it's inactivity. Fairly soon we'll arrive at our fuel stop. So here we are. This is where we make our first stop, or our only stop, get some fuel.
Tesla charging areas.
Oh,
Turn left,
amazing.
then bear
Yeah.
right.
What side of here?
It's on your side. Must be that one.
95 miles, that's the power one.
And here we are.
After 800
Oh,
yards,
she started
keep
again.
left, A29, E44, towards Le Mans, then keep left.
This woman, oh God, you know,
Keep left, then keep left, towards Cannes.
two guys get in a car and get away from women, and what do we get? Bloody woman in the car. We're on our way to Le Havre.
After 500 yards,
You're right.
keep left.
We got a couple of good bridges coming up in a
Keep
minute.
left, A29, E44.
Now look at that. These are really nice. Those
Spirals.
worms or whatever they are. Right. One of the things. There's that bridge. Look, first bridge. One of the things you always get when you're here, and I don't know whether you can smell it, is the butane gas or cala gas or whatever it is. You can always smell gas here 'cause it's a port, and I think they bring it in. They've got big storage tanks here. I think it comes in from the Middle East, and they bring it in here, store it in tanks, and of course it ends up in all the bottles, because I mean France is really big on that sort of thing. I've got them in my house, so when you're out in the country, lots of farms, you have bottled gas to run your cooking stove or whatever. So this is the first of two bridges, and I think it's not this one. This is the harbour, but the next one is the Seine. So actually it's where the Seine starts, so we go over the Seine. So this is Le Havre, which is a very big and busy port. A lot of activity here in the Second World War. Sorry, Tom. And then we've got the towers over there of the second bridge that we're going to go over, which is the estuary of the Seine. The French are very good at, they've got a lot of bridges in their country, and They're quite proud of their bridges. Okay, so now we're going over the second bridge.
So not lined up.
Yeah, another one of these impressive bridges with two beautiful towers.
Bridge coming up.
Right, well we're about 3/4 of the way to our destination, and we've just stopped off. Tom's gone into the supermarket here to get some pizzas, so when we get back to the house we got something to eat. It'll be too late to really, after all this driving, to go out to eat anything, and my house is in the middle of nowhere anyway, so it's about 10 miles from the nearest sort of restaurant or anything. I was thinking that while I was waiting for Tom, it was a question that a number of people have commented on my videos, and that is about Benex, and the fact that, you know, even people said to me, are they actually closing? And the answer is, of course, yes they are. They're virtually closed now, to be honest with you, which is why I'm not taking any more cars into them. Now, basically they've retired. I mean, Nick is not well, and he's older than Ben. Now, I've known for, well, probably 18 months or more that, probably going back 2 years, that they wanted to close and retire, and then there were lots of obstacles to do with the property and what they were going to do with it and everything. But I couldn't say anything, and I was making videos, and I didn't make any comment in these videos. But the only time I actually talked about it publicly or on the videos was when Benex, or Nick and Ben, put out a circular to their customers and officially said that they were closing. So that means it was official. So I started to talk about it on the video. So the facts are, yes, they're closing. They're not taking on any more work, I think, from basically this week or next week, and they're just going to finish off all the jobs they've got. And then they're closing. They're having an auction in April where they're going to sell all the tools and stuff that they don't particularly want, I guess, personally. There's all the lifts and the equipment and all the various stuff. It's going to be a public auction. I think there's a company that's organising it. And then the place will be closed up. I think they are probably... I think there's a lot of formal legalities involved, because I think they have to have the place up for sale as a garage for some period, and then perhaps it will be developed for housing. So what will happen with that, will happen. Ben is retiring, Nick is retiring, and Billy, not too sure what Billy is doing at the moment. It's possible he may take a career change, have a break from repairing cars, but I don't know really. I don't think he knows too much at the moment. Ben, who's a friend of mine, he may be doing more work on my cars for me. At the moment I haven't actually bothered him because he's very busy trying to wind up the business and finish all the jobs that they've got booked in and are with them. So I've basically kept out of his way, and all my car problems I've taken down to Anglian Vehicle Services. They're a very good garage, and as you've seen on one of my videos, I've known them for years. So that's the kind of story there. And the Ben's son actually is an architect, and he's actually the architect that's working on the development on my place where I'm developing my kennels, the old kennel building. We're building some new houses there and some flats. So that's an ongoing project, and actually Ben's son is the architect on that. So that's the situation. Meanwhile, we're waiting for Tom here to get some pizzas. We're going to head down to the house, get everything turned on, put the heating on, and get some logs in and have a log fire. And then tomorrow we will see if my little van, my little French van is working, and take that out for a spin. So there we go. Right, so after a rather long day of driving, we're getting closer to our destination. You see the lights here on the car, quite neat. Quite a nice dash, really. Anyway, tomorrow we'll be driving around in a lovely little French van, if it starts. Right, well, it's the next day now, and a lovely morning. Look at this, beautiful, isn't it? And we've arrived in France, and here's the van. So what we're going to do now is try and get it going. So right, so the last time I ran this was in October. Just hope the batteries. God, you can tell I haven't driven it for a while. I can't even find the key for the. There we are. Right. Okay. So shall we go for it, Tom?
Yep.
Okay. See what happens. It's a bit different to the Avantime. Right. Oh, got power. Light went out, didn't it? Whoa! Success! Oh. CD's working as well. It's a bit quieter than I... No, it's a bit louder than I remember it. Alright, we'll let that tick over for a minute, and then I think we'll go into town. Take the chocks away. I put the bricks underneath because I left the handbrake off. Because last time the handbrake was locked solid, and I'd skidded all the way to the back to release it, halfway up the slope before it released. Yeah, it's a meaty little engine, isn't it? Really, I like the radiator. And of course it's the belt driven. So it's a lovely day here, and the sun's coming up, and this mist that we have here is because in the distance there, the land goes down, and in the valley there's a river, so that we get a lot of mist here in the morning. You see it's rolling away. You see on that apple tree there, that's mistletoe. Right, so we'll head into town now. This is warmed up. Now the lovely, simple vehicle where it's automatic, obviously, this belt-driven automatic. And it's just basically forward and backwards. So, we'll go backwards. Now the handbrake is off because I left it off, so we should be alright. Here we go. Right, so we're now in the noisy Action van. This will wind itself up to around just under 40 miles an hour if it hasn't got much of a headwind against it, which is fine for the town and the country lanes around here in France. We got the foot to the floor now. The one thing it doesn't like is hills. Right, so don't often see people jogging around here. Cut that corner there. Oh, and then, when is they going to do this road?
Make it wider.
Yeah, I've got a feeling they are. See, because this whole place is being developed. This was beautiful here, and now, oh, they've got electricity cable or something.
Yep.
Cut all the, yeah. Centuries. Hello, mate. Really lovely here, but it's going to change the development. After I'd worked it out, so after thinking gallons I do. Right, so we've parked the little van. Tom's driving now, and we parked the little van here. Excellent. Right, well, we're back. We got a fire started. That looks incredible. Hopefully that will be a lovely fire soon. We've got the sports on, the Olympics, look, and we've got some beer. That's it.